Hi guys, Arthur here. Just thought I'd give you my predictions for the US election in 2020 as of mid October and explain just how the US president is actually elected in the American system. So, as you can see, we've got a map of America here, and in each state is a number. So, for instance, in Wyoming, we have the number 3, and in New York, for instance, the number 29. That is how many votes that state has in the Electoral College. So the Electoral College is made up of 538 votes, and a candidate needs 270 votes in order to cross the threshold and become the president. You should note that this is actually an even number, which means there is a sort of disaster situation where each candidate achieves 269 votes and then it's a draw, but that's a whole other situation. So, for instance, New York is a very strong Democrat state, and Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota, as an example, all very strong Republican states. So, though there is clearly a larger surface area for the Republicans in this example, and there's 6 states versus 1 Democrat state, there's a larger population in New York, and so it has 29 electoral college votes versus 22, and it takes Joe Biden closer to 270 than Trump does with these 6 states. So I'm just going to quickly explain, for instance, how I characterize New York as a Democrat state, as a safe Democrat state. I characterize safe meaning that Biden is leading by more than 15 points in that state. So we're going to go to 538. It's a great website. I'll link it below, but it basically explains what is likely to happen in a state. So Biden is very likely to win New York, and it collates lots of different polls, gives more weight to strong pollsters. This is an A-rated pollster from Siena College versus SurveyMonkey. Why is it A-rated versus SurveyMonkey? Well, SurveyMonkey is a bit of a dumb pollster because it just sort of polls people without just online, just not taking much into account, whereas Siena College takes into account likely voters, key districts, who are likely voters, basically white people and older voters. Minorities are less likely to turn out, as same with young people, but that could change this year. Anyway, they all give Biden a very strong lead, more than 15%, crucially, when they take the average here. He's leading by 30%, so we can strongly characterize New York as a strong, safe Democrat state. So I'm just going to characterize all the safe Democrat states now. So we've got California, Oregon, Washington. Oregon's where Portland is. That's where a lot of the protests have been happening recently. Hawaii, the birth state of Barack Obama. New Mexico, Illinois, where Barack Obama served for a long time. We've then got basically most of the northeast coast, and though on the electoral maps it often looks like a sea of red over here and a tiny bit of blue in each corner, that's because there's quite dense populations here. So we've got New Hampshire, where Elizabeth Warren's from. Vermont, where Bernie Sanders is from. New Hampshire, where Elizabeth Warren's from. Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island. We've then got New York. We've already done that. New Jersey. Delaware is where Joe Biden has served for his entire 47-year career, though he was born in Scranton, Pennsylvania. We've then got Maryland, very strongly Democrat, and Washington, D.C. And those are all the safe, for now, those are all the safe Joe Biden states. And now for the safe Republican states, Utah, so that's where all the Mormons are from. We've got Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, Indiana. This is where Vice President Pence is from. West Virginia, and South Carolina. I will also say Alabama, yeah, and we'll just leave it there for now. That takes Donald Trump with his safe states to 108 out of 270. So as you can see, Biden is closer with his safe states, but that by no means means that Donald Trump isn't going to win, because he just needs to win more of these currently grey states. I will quickly explain what's going on with Nebraska and Maine, because it can be confusing. I mean, why are there 3 lines? Why are there 3 districts in here and in here? Well, that's just right. So the D stands for district and AL stands for at large. So for instance, in Maine, as an example, they have divided Maine into 2 different districts. So one is very strongly Democrat, and that's Maine's 1st district. As you can see, it's a more urban district. And we've then got Maine's 2nd district, which I would characterize as likely. Likely means, by the way, that one party leads the other by somewhere between 5 and 15%. And so it would get that one electoral college vote, then Maine's 2nd district electoral vote, and the AL stands for at large, and I think overall the Democrats will win that state. Overall are likely to win that state. What's going on with Nebraska? I think Nebraska's Nebraska's 2nd district is likely to be a Democrat. But other than that, Nebraska's 3rd district is a very, very strong Republican district. Likely in the 1st district, and overall is pretty guaranteed to go to the Republicans. So that takes us to 112 and 196. I'm just going to characterize the rest of what I consider the likely Democrat states. So sorry about that. We've got Nevada. We've got Arizona. Arizona is a very interesting case. This used to be a very strong Republican state, especially in 2016, because it's been run by John McCain. John McCain's been the senator there for a very long time. Who is John McCain? John McCain was the 2008 Republican presidential nominee. He ran against Barack Obama and lost. But he's very well loved and well respected. His family in Arizona, he passed away, unfortunately, 2 years ago. And the Cindy McCain, his wife, his widow, has actually nominated Joe Biden, and he's been doing very well in the polls there. So I'm going to characterize that actually as what we say lean. So that's the next level down. That's between 5 and 2% lead over the Republicans. And I think we'll go to the Democrats, but I think it's going to be closer. We've then got Colorado. That's a likely Democrat state, along with Minnesota. This is the state in which George Floyd was killed. We've then got for Donald Trump, Missouri is obviously a Donald Trump state. We've then got a lot of grey. Alaska and Texas, you might be surprised that they are even considered anything but a safe Republican states. Well, Alaska I think is likely, though it is narrowing up. And Texas is not even likely. I'm going to say it's lean. The reason, by the way, that Joe Biden and his campaign have been making so many inroads in traditionally Republican states like Alaska, Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, is basically because he's been doing very well at stealing votes away from the Donald Trump coalition of voters. That is to say, non-college educated whites, working class white voters, Christian voters, and older voters. Joe Biden does particularly well with older voters, which is a key Republican constituent in their voting bloc. And he's been making, for instance, significant inroads with older voters in Florida. On top of that, there's also increasing minority and young turnout since 2018. In 2018, they had the midterms, which was a very good year for the Democrats, and they hope the same thing will be true in 2020. But for instance, in Georgia, there's an enormous minority population in Georgia, and they're hoping that a high turnout could flip Georgia from a safe Republican seat historically to a Democrat win. So I would also say Virginia. So we'll just take an example. Virginia is very, very likely, according to 538, to go to Joe Biden. But when we look at the popular vote, he's leading by only 14%, so I will characterize that as likely. And this is where we're left. So Joe Biden needs 25 electoral college votes from the remainders of these in order to guarantee victory. And Donald Trump, well, he's much further behind. So what are the characterizations from here? Traditionally, Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, these are deciding states. I should explain some terms that you see a lot in the news. These grey states are toss-up states. These are states that are most likely to decide the election. They're sometimes called swing states. And what that basically means is, say you're a Democrat voter in Montana, you are not very likely to decide the election because it's such a strong Republican state. But if you are a Democrat in Pennsylvania and you manage to win Pennsylvania for the Democrats, that's a huge win for the Biden campaign. It takes them very close to 270. And this area here, from Minnesota across to Pennsylvania. It's called the Rust Belt, and it's basically a lot of blue-collar workers here, blue-collar meaning working-class voters, and it's usually very, very important in deciding the election. If we head over to the 2016 presidential election results, the major wins for Donald Trump were Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And these three particularly, Florida is always a swing state, but these three really put Donald Trump over the line and was a significant blow to Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton was criticized for not putting enough effort into ads and spending enough time in these three states. She thought she had them locked down, but it was not the case, evidently. Well, Joe Biden has been spending a lot of time in these three states. Just yesterday, as of time of recording, Joe Biden did a town hall in Pennsylvania in lieu of a proper debate. So I characterize Pennsylvania as lean, Michigan as lean, and Wisconsin as lean Democrat. So that already puts Joe Biden, in my calculations, over the line. I think the next level down from lean is tilt. I think Iowa and Ohio are going to go to Republicans, but Iowa is going to be very close, I would imagine. If we go to, for instance, so we've got 3 states left, I would just want to go to Georgia. Georgia's very interesting. 538 has Biden leading in Georgia, but it's incredibly close. As you can see, Donald Trump has been leading throughout the entire summer, but it's really tightened up as we got closer to the election, and of course we've still got a good 20 days to go. I'll also just say that Quinnipiac University is a bit of a Democrat-leaning pollster. As bad as that sounds, there are somewhat politicized pollsters out there, just like, for instance, if we were to go to Pennsylvania and we go to the Trafalgar Group, this is a Republican-leaning pollster. They have a rather slim margin of victory for Biden here. But Georgia is a toss-up. And the next one we might want to have a look at is North Carolina, which has been going to Biden, but it's been really close throughout the entire summer. But it's expected to narrow up as we get closer to November 3rd, the voting day. Donald Trump, as a recording, just held a rally in North Carolina yesterday, but I think this is going to go tilt, which means within just a couple of % of victory to Joe Biden, and I believe these are going to go tilt to Joe Biden, these 3 states. We'll just have a quick look as well at Florida. That's always an important state. If we look at Florida, Biden is favoured to win here. But as you can see, it's a slim, and there's 80% of results happen within these bands from here to here and here to here. And as you can see, there's a lot of overlap, so it's very possible that Trump could pull off a victory here, but I think it's going to be very close. But I think Biden will pull off a convincing 351 to 187 Electoral College victory. Just to go back to 538, they've got this very interesting graphic called the snake chart, the winding path to victory. And in essence, it goes from strongest to least strong Republican states and strongest to least strong Democrat states. And they need to cross this 270 threshold in order to win the presidency. And as you can see, Biden can actually afford to lose Georgia and Maine 2nd District, North Carolina, Arizona, Florida, etc., etc., as long as he wins the Rust Belt, so Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan. But Donald Trump needs to go on the defensive and protect himself in Texas. He needs to protect himself in Ohio, and he needs to win back quite a lot of states. I'll just end on a note of saying what a lot of people might say right now is, oh yes, but didn't the polls have Hillary Clinton leading in 2016? Yes, they did. They did indeed. But not by the kind of margins that we're seeing here. If we scroll up and we look at the national... where are we? Sorry, just a moment. And we look at the popular vote nationwide. It was not by this sort of a margin. We were talking something along the lines of 52% to 48%. We were talking within the margins of 2 or 3%. But as you say, it's not really about the popular vote. Hillary did win the popular vote. It's more about the Electoral College, as I explained earlier in the video, and she lost in key states. There was a great New York Times article published just a few weeks after her loss saying you could fit all the voters that cost Hillary Clinton the election into one mid-sized football stadium. So if we go here, there is the margin of possibility, of course, that Joe Biden doesn't win, but my estimations are actually conservative of what they think, just near the average of what they think will happen. Anyway, that's been it. I'll cover other election issues as we go forward. Sorry if this was a bit scatty. I just thought that I should give my thoughts as of mid-October. If you want anything suggested, if you want to suggest anything for me to cover as I cover the US election over the next couple of weeks, then you can pop it in the comments below, or you can send me a message. I'll link my social media accounts below. I'll also link 538 and this website here, where you can draw your own electoral map, and thank you for watching.